I've been playing something completely different. A game I talked about a couple of weeks ago, Nirvana Pilot Yume, had a publisher called Red Deer Games, and just mentioned on Twitter that, I talked about your game and all that, and I got chatting with one of the media representatives from them, one of that Red Deer Games publisher, and he, after a back and forth, he sent me 2 games to just check out, not do reviews or anything. Have a look at these 2 games. He said, if you want to talk about them on the podcast, carry on. So I've played through one enough to see everything that's on offer. I haven't seen everything, but enough that I can see. And it is called Clumsy Rush. It's one of the games that was I mentioned on the sale this week for £1.79. Normally it's only £4.99 anyway, so it's not Red Deer Games do tend to have these smaller indie classic kind of arcade kind of games, and that's what this is. It's one of these deliberately awkward character movement games, but it's from a top-down perspective, and it's a race. So you got 1v1 local races. So I thought, what better than to play with my son? We'll have a race against each other. And why is it clumsy? Because you've just 2 buttons basically, ZL and ZR. One moves your left leg, one moves your right leg. But as you move your leg, you kind of twist your body through 90 degrees and waddle. So as you go in ZL, ZR, ZL, ZR to walk, you kind of waddle in to the left or the right as you're moving up at the same time. You can never walk in a straight line, basically. And you have to kind of loop yourself around before walking off again. So these kind of 1v1 races, you have to basically pick up a crown. Right at the beginning of each race, you pick up a crown, wear it, and there's only one crown to fight over, and you have to cross the finish line wearing that crown. Pressing the A button, that's the only other button in the game, will perform a lunging like a body slam, which pushes you much faster across the screen. If you hit the other player and they're not wearing the crown, they'll get dizzy and it'll cause them to pause their game for a little bit. But if they're wearing the crown, they'll drop the crown. Then there's the environments, and basically the environments are quite cluttered. There's obstacles that you have to get over. There's slippery circumstances like ice or butter and grease, and if you're going in one direction, you'll just keep sliding in that direction. There's these moving platforms like escalators, which will push you off in certain directions. There's bumpers like in pinball, but because of the way the movement mechanics work, it's quite frustrating to get to the end, even if there was no obstacles. So with obstacles, it's really, really challenging just to get across the finish line with or without the crown. So what tends to happen is one person will pick the crown up and the other person will race towards the end as fast as they can and then try and take the other person out right at the finish line, nick the crown and get over the line. Which kind of defeats the purpose of the game, and it feels, it's a game which feels if you could have more players, if you could have like 4 or up to 8 players online playing this in one arena at the same time, the kind of chaos that would ensue would be hilarious. But when you're in this kind of local 1v1, and it's dependent on how good you are and how good your partner competitive player is, if they're not cutting the mustard, it means you're going to win every single round. Fortunately, my son is competent of a player, and he's wise enough to know, you've got the crown, I'm off to the end, I'm just going to wait here and damage you and grab a crown and nip over the line myself. So he's not dumb anyway. But it's frustrating because of it. There are other things that shake this kind of party game. It does need more players. It needs 4 because there are random cards at the beginning of each level. And each level, there are a set number of levels, but there's a huge variety of levels that they've got there. And every time you play, it throws a new level at you. There's no kind of progression. This is a difficult level. This is an easy level. It just throws a random level at you. And then right before you play and start, the countdown goes 3, 2, 1 before you start, a random card is selected. You have no input on what card is selected, but these cards then give your player some movement effects or speed effects. For example, your character might move backwards. So now you're using the ZLZR button and you're actually moving backwards, but your A button is still attacking forwards. There's ones that turn you frozen, so when you stop, you carry on sliding. There's one that will turn your movement from not 90 degrees, but to 180 degrees. And there's a variety of humorous and hilarious circumstances to make your clumsy rush more frustrating than it should be. Your character, last thing to talk about, your character is randomly chosen as well. So there are 27 skins, and some of them are generic, like ninjas and sumo wrestlers, because everyone is based upon a hippo. So there's a ninja hippo and a Santa hippo, but there's also Donald, the president hippo, who looks exactly like Trump, along with his quiff. And so there are some comedic elements in it. It's not a game that you would ever have any longevity, but it could be a type of game that if you had friends over, you could have like a winner stays on party kind of mode for half an hour, and it would fill that half an hour with a little bit of fun anyway. Not the hilarity. The problem is, because of the frustrating controls, it takes away from the fun that you could be having. Shame.
Yeah, I've just been watching a video of it while you're talking. It looks torturous.
I wasn't going to use that word, but there are times when you get into a loop. There's a particular obstacle in the course, like a CD, like an old record player. And when you stand on the record, it's rotating. It rotates you through centrifugal force into the center. It doesn't force you outwards. You go into the center. To get back off of that rotating record player while moving, and someone's hitting you to get the crown, and every time you mess up just one footfall, you go sliding back into the center. Oh, that was rather infuriating. My son and I were cursing a few times playing that. It's a strange one. It looks as if it should be more fun than it is, but it's not quite there. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.